Stop scrolling right now. If you've ever witnessed injustice and felt powerless to stop it, if you've ever wondered whether one person can truly change another person's life, if you believe that strangers can be angels in disguise, you need to hear this story. Hit that subscribe button immediately, because what I'm about to tell you will restore your faith in humanity while breaking your heart at the same time. Turn on those notifications, because this isn't just a rescue story. This is about discovering that sometimes the people who save us are the ones we'd least expect, and sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the family we're born into. Stay until the very end, because the reason this dying old man wanted to buy me will leave you speechless. This is my story, and I'm telling it so you understand that miracles don't always look like miracles at first. Sometimes they look like strange old men making impossible offers. My name is Nkechi. I'm 26 years old now. But 2 years ago, when I was 24, I was living in hell. And a dying stranger I'd never met before walked into that hell and pulled me out with an offer so shocking that everyone who heard it thought he was insane. This is the story of how I was saved by a man who had nothing left to live for except the chance to save someone else. And how that salvation came with a price that changed both our lives forever. Let me take you back to where it all began, so you understand what my life was like before the day everything changed. I lost my mother when I was 8 years old. Cancer took her slowly, painfully, while my father and I watched helplessly. After she died, my father, Chief Obi, was devastated. For 2 years, he barely functioned. I became his reason to keep living, and he poured all his love and grief into raising me alone. Then, when I was 10, he met Ifeoma. She was beautiful, charming, attentive to my father in ways that made him smile again. She was kind to me at first, or at least, she pretended to be. My father, desperate to rebuild our family, desperate to give me a mother figure, married her within a year. That's when everything changed. Ifeoma didn't want a stepdaughter. She wanted my father's wealth, his status, his attention, all to herself. And I was an obstacle to that. At first, the abuse was subtle. Small cruelties disguised as discipline. Harsh words dressed up as tough love. My father traveled frequently for business, and when he was gone, Ifeoma's true nature emerged. "You're worthless," she'd tell me. "Your mother died and left you as a burden. If it wasn't for my generosity, your father would have sent you away to relatives." She'd make me do all the housework while she relaxed. Cook, clean, wash, scrub, from the moment I got home from school until I collapsed into bed. If I complained, she'd slap me and tell me I was ungrateful. When my father was home, she was sweet and loving, playing the role of caring stepmother. "Nkechi is such a handful," she'd tell him with a sad smile. "I try so hard, but she's so difficult." My father, wanting to believe in his new marriage, believing that I was just adjusting poorly to having a stepmother, would scold me. "Be respectful to your mother. She's trying her best." I learned to stay silent, to accept the abuse, to survive. As I grew older, the abuse intensified. Ifeoma resented my education, my youth, my very existence. When I gained admission to university, she tried to convince my father not to pay my fees. "She'll just waste your money," she argued. "Girls don't need higher education. She should learn a trade, get married, leave this house." But my father insisted. I went to university, studying in Enugu while living at home to save costs. Those few hours away at school each day were my only escape. I graduated at 23 with a degree in accounting. I was so proud. I'd survived everything Ifeoma had thrown at me and still achieved my dream. But then my father died. He had a massive heart attack at 58. Sudden, unexpected, devastating. One day he was healthy, planning his retirement. The next day he was gone, and I was left alone with Ifeoma. My father's will left everything to his wife, the house, the cars, the investments. I got nothing. Ifeoma made sure of that. She'd spent years poisoning his mind against me, suggesting I was selfish and ungrateful, planting seeds of doubt about my intentions. So when he died, she inherited everything, and I became completely dependent on her mercy. There was no mercy. "You have 1 month," she told me the day after my father's burial. "Find a job, find somewhere to live, and get out of my house." But this was my father's house. I grew up here. It's my house now. Everything your father owned is mine. You have nothing. You are nothing. And I want you gone. I tried to find work, but jobs were scarce, and my degree was fresh with no experience. I applied everywhere. Nothing came through. The month passed. Ifeoma's cruelty escalated. She cut off my food. "You want to eat my food when you contribute nothing? Cook for yourself." "Oh wait, you have no money to buy food. Too bad." She made me sleep in the boys' quarters, the tiny room where our previous houseboy had lived. No bed, just a thin mat on the concrete floor. She worked me like a slave. I'd wake at 4 a.m. to start chores, sweeping the entire compound, washing her clothes by hand, cooking her breakfast, cleaning every room in the house. If anything wasn't perfect, she'd scream at me, sometimes hit me. Useless girl. You can't do anything right. This is why your father was ashamed of you. I'd apply for jobs during the day, then return home to more chores. My life became an endless cycle of abuse and rejection. No job would hire me. No relatives would take me in. Ifeoma had spread lies about me to everyone who knew our family. I was trapped, 24 years old, educated, capable, but completely powerless. The worst part wasn't the physical abuse or the hunger or the exhaustion. It was the hopelessness, the feeling that this was my life forever, that I'd never escape, that I'd die in that boys' quarters, alone and forgotten, having achieved nothing. That's where I was when everything changed. When a dying stranger walked into my hell and made an offer that saved my life. It was a Tuesday morning in June, exactly 2 years ago. Ifeoma had sent me to the market to buy food. Her food, not mine. I wasn't allowed to eat from what I bought. I was walking through Onitsha main market, carefully counting the money she'd given me, knowing I'd be beaten if I spent even 20 naira more than she'd allocated, when I heard her voice behind me. You useless girl. Is this how slow you walk? I've been waiting for 30 minutes. I turned. Ifeoma was there with some of her friends, wealthy women from her church who love to gossip and show off. I'm sorry, Ma. The market is crowded. Don't give me excuses. She grabbed my arm roughly, her nails digging into my skin. You're deliberately trying to embarrass me in front of my friends. No, Ma. I would never. She slapped me. Hard. Right there in the market, in front of dozens of people. Don't talk back to me. You think because you went to university you're better than me? You're nothing. A burden. A parasite living off my charity. She hit me again. Then again. I tried to cover my face, but she pulled my hands away and kept hitting me. Slaps, punches, pulling my hair. Ma, please, I begged, crying. Please stop. People are watching. Let them watch. Let them see what an ungrateful wretch you are. People were watching. Some looked uncomfortable, but no one intervened. In Nigeria, family matters are private. No one wants to get involved in a stepmother disciplining her stepdaughter, even if it looks excessive. I fell to the ground. She kicked me. Get up. You're making a scene. I couldn't get up. I was crying too hard, my face bleeding from where her ring had cut my cheek. That's when I heard a different voice. Old. Male. Weak but determined. Please, please stop. An old man was shuffling toward us. He looked to be in his 70s, thin to the point of emaciation, leaning heavily on a walking stick. His clothes were neat but worn. His eyes were tired but kind. This is none of your business, old man. Ifeoma snapped. This is my stepdaughter. I'm disciplining her. Discipline. The old man looked at me, then back at Ifeoma. That's not discipline. That's cruelty. How dare you? How much? The old man interrupted. Ifeoma blinked. What? How much do you want for her? To let her go. To release her from this, whatever this is. The market went silent. Everyone within earshot stopped to stare. Are you insane? Ifeoma asked. You want to buy my stepdaughter? Yes. The old man's voice was stronger now. I'm dying. Cancer. Maybe 3 months left. I have some money saved. Not much, but enough. Name your price. I'll buy her freedom from you. I stared at him from the ground, unable to process what was happening. Ifeoma laughed. You think you can buy her? Like she's property? You treat her like property, the old man said quietly. You beat her in public. You call her worthless. You clearly don't want her. So sell her to me. I'll pay you. She goes free. Everyone wins. This is ridiculous. 500,000 naira, the old man said. That's all I have. My life savings. Take it. Let her go. Ifeoma's eyes widened. 500,000 was a lot of money to her, enough to buy her silence, enough to make her forget her pride. You're serious? She asked. Completely serious. 500,000 naira. I'll give it to you today. Right now? And she comes with me. You never see her again. She's no longer your burden. I could see Ifeoma calculating. She hated me, wanted me gone, but her pride was injured by the idea of selling me. But 500,000 naira. Fine, she said finally. Fine. Take her. She's nothing but trouble anyway. 500,000 and she's your problem. The old man nodded. There's a bank across the street. We'll go together. I'll withdraw the money. You'll take it. She comes with me. Deal. Deal. I couldn't believe what was happening. This stranger, this dying old man I'd never met, was buying my freedom from Ifeoma. Within an hour, it was done. The old man withdrew 500,000 naira. Ifeoma counted it twice, smiled greedily, and walked away without looking back at me. I stood there with this stranger who'd just paid 500,000 naira for me, completely confused. Why? I asked. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. The old man smiled gently. Let's go somewhere we can talk. You need food, medical attention, and answers. In that order. His name was Papa Joseph. He was 73 years old, a retired teacher, widower with no children. And he had stage 4 cancer that was killing him slowly. He took me to a small restaurant, bought me food, the first proper meal I'd had in weeks, and while I ate, he explained. I was walking through the market to buy my medications, he said. I heard the shouting. I saw how she was treating you. And I saw the look in your eyes. The same look my wife had before she died. What look? Hopelessness. The look of someone who's given up. Who's waiting to die. He paused. My wife was abused by her family before I married her. She had that same look when I met her. It took years for that look to fade. Years of love and safety and proof that not everyone would hurt her. I'm sorry about your wife. She died 5 years ago. Cancer, like me. After she passed, I had no reason to save my money. No children, no family, nothing to leave behind. I've been living simply, just waiting to die. But when I saw you today, I realized I had one last chance to do something meaningful. One last chance to save someone the way I once saved my wife. I started crying. But 500,000 naira. That's everything you have. And what good is it if I die with it in the bank? Money can't buy more life for me. But it bought freedom for you. That's a fair trade. What happens now? I asked. You bought me. Do I have to work for you? Serve you? Papa Joseph laughed, then coughed. A wet, painful cough that reminded me he was dying. No, child. I didn't buy you to own you. I bought you to set you free. You owe me nothing. Then what? I have a small house in Enugu. 2 bedrooms. I live alone. You can stay in the spare room while you look for work. No rent. No obligations. Just keep an old man company in his final months. If you want to. If not, I'll help you find somewhere else. You'd let me live with you? For free. I have 3 months, maybe less. I could use the company. Someone to talk to. Someone to make sure I take my medications. Someone to maybe cook occasionally. Not because you have to, but because we're helping each other. You need a safe place to rebuild your life. I need someone to make my dying less lonely. We help each other. Fair. It was the fairest offer anyone had ever made me. I moved into Papa Joseph's house that same day. It was small but clean, in a quiet neighborhood in Enugu. He gave me the better bedroom, the one with the air conditioner and the comfortable bed. You're young, he said. You need good sleep. I'll be dead soon anyway. Comfort doesn't matter much to me anymore. Those first few days were strange. I kept expecting the cruelty, the abuse, the trap. I'd been conditioned by Ifioma to expect the worst from everyone. But Papa Joseph was exactly what he seemed. A kind old man who asked for nothing except company. He'd sit in the living room reading newspapers, and I'd sit nearby, still nervous, still waiting for the other shoe to drop. You don't have to sit with me if you don't want to, he said one day. You're free, remember? No obligations. I want to, I said quietly. And I realized I meant it. His presence was comforting. Safe. Slowly, over weeks, I started to heal. Not just physically, though the bruises from Ifioma faded and I started eating properly again, but emotionally. Papa Joseph treated me like a daughter. He encouraged me to keep applying for jobs. He proofread my applications. He gave me money for transport to interviews, gifts, not loans. He never made me feel indebted or obligated. You're going to do great things, Nkechi, he'd say. You're smart, educated, resilient. Any company would be lucky to have you. I got a job interview at an accounting firm in Enugu. I was terrified I'd fail. But Papa Joseph gave me a pep talk that morning. You've survived things that would break most people. A job interview is nothing compared to what you've already endured. Go in there and show them who you are. I got the job. Starting salary wasn't much, but it was mine. My own money. My independence. I came home that evening and found Papa Joseph sitting in his chair, reading as usual. I got the job, I announced. He looked up with the biggest smile. I knew you would. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, I said, and I meant for everything. The rescue, the safety, the encouragement, the belief in me when I'd stopped believing in myself. Over the next few months, Papa Joseph's health declined. The cancer was aggressive. He started chemotherapy, but it was just buying time, not curing him. I took care of him, not because I was obligated, but because I wanted to. This man had saved my life. The least I could do was make his final months comfortable. I'd take him to his hospital appointments, cook his favorite meals, sit with him when the pain was bad and he couldn't sleep, read to him when he was too weak to hold a book. You don't have to do this, he'd say. You have your job, your life. I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden. You're family. And he was. More family than Ifioma had ever been. More father than my own father had been in those final years when Ifeoma poisoned him against me. One evening, about 6 months after he'd rescued me, Papa Joseph called me into his room. Nkechi, I need to tell you something. I sat beside his bed. He looked so small now, so fragile. The cancer had eaten away at him until he was barely there. I'm dying soon. Days, maybe. Not months anymore. Papa Joseph, don't say that. It's true. And I'm ready. I'm not afraid. But before I go, I want you to know something. He took my hand with his thin, weak fingers. When I saw you that day in the market, I saw my wife. But I also saw my daughter. Your daughter? You said you didn't have children. We had a daughter, he said, his voice breaking. Chioma. She'd be your age now. 24. But she died when she was 8. Malaria. We couldn't afford the hospital bills fast enough. She died in my arms. Tears rolled down his weathered face. I've spent every day since then wishing I could have saved her. Wishing I'd been faster, richer, better. I couldn't save my daughter. But when I saw you, I had one chance. One last chance to save someone's daughter. To do for you what I couldn't do for Chioma. I was crying now too. You didn't buy me to set me free. I whispered. You bought me because you were saving the daughter you lost. No, he said firmly. I saved you because you deserve to be saved. Because you're worth saving. Not because you're replacing anyone. You're Nkechi, your own person, your own worth. I'm grateful I got to be your father for these few months. Even if I couldn't be Chioma's father for longer. He died 3 days later. Peacefully, in his sleep, with me holding his hand. He left me everything in his will. The house. His savings, what little remained after buying my freedom. Everything. To Nkechi, the will read. Who made an old man's final months the happiest of his life. Who gave me purpose when I thought I had none left. Who is the daughter I got to love in my final days. Use this to build the life you deserve. That was 2 years ago. I'm 26 now. I still live in Papa Joseph's house, my house now. I kept my accounting job, and I've been promoted twice. I'm saving money, building a future, living the life Papa Joseph believed I could have. I visit his grave every Sunday. I tell him about my week, my achievements, my life. I thank him for seeing me when I was invisible, for valuing me when everyone else saw me as worthless, for spending his last naira to buy my freedom. People who hear this story sometimes ask if what he did was right. You can't buy people, they say, even to save them. But they don't understand. Ifeoma saw me as property she could abuse. Papa Joseph offered to buy me not because he saw me as property, but because he understood that in Ifeoma's eyes, everything had a price. He paid that price to set me free. He didn't buy me to own me. He bought me to liberate me. There's a difference. And that difference saved my life. I think about what would have happened if Papa Joseph hadn't walked through that market that day. If he'd stayed home. If he'd seen me being beaten and walked past like everyone else did. I'd probably still be in that boy's quarters, being beaten and starved and broken, waiting to die. Or maybe I'd already be dead. But a dying stranger, with nothing left to live for except the chance to do one more good thing, saw me. Saw my suffering. And spent his last naira to save me. That's what angels look like sometimes. Not beings with wings and halos. But dying old men who make impossible offers because they can't walk past suffering without trying to stop it. I was saved by a stranger who became my father. And I got to be the daughter a grieving man never stopped missing. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that one person can change a life, if it showed you that sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the family we're born into, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that notification bell because I share real stories about real rescue, real transformation, real love that comes from unexpected places. Drop a comment below. Have you ever been saved by a stranger? Have you ever witnessed injustice and wished you could do something? Do you believe that dying people sometimes see more clearly what matters? Would you have had the courage to do what Papa Joseph did? Let's honor his memory by having this conversation. Share this video with someone who needs hope, someone who's suffering, someone who feels invisible and worthless. Let them know that angels still exist, and sometimes they come in the form of dying strangers who refuse to let cruelty win. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for honoring Papa Joseph's memory. Thank you for understanding that love isn't always romantic, isn't always between blood family, isn't always conventional. Sometimes love is a dying man spending his last money to save a stranger. And that love changes everything. Remember, you're worth saving. No matter what anyone has told you. No matter how worthless they've made you feel. You're worth someone's last naira, someone's last breath, someone's final act of kindness. Papa Joseph taught me that. And now I live every day trying to prove him right. Trying to be worthy of the sacrifice he made. Trying to build the life he believed I deserved. Rest in peace, Papa Joseph. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for being the father I needed when I had no one. I'm living the life you died believing I could have. And I hope wherever you are, you can see that your last act of kindness wasn't wasted. Stay blessed. Stay kind. Stay willing to help someone who's suffering. Because you might be the angel someone desperately needs. Until next time, remember that saving one person might not change the world, but it changes the world for that one person. And sometimes, that's all that matters.